Jurassic World Dominion, more like a Dumbinion. The new Jurassic World movie is fucking horrible, no surprise here. This trilogy of movies, although financially successful, has had the quality of dinosaur shit, and this new one might just be the single worst out of all of them. It's a shame that one of the greatest movies of all time is now associated with mediocre, lazy blockbusters, making you lose more brain cells than alcohol and drugs mixed together. And yet, here we are. In Dominion, Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard need to rescue a little girl from an evil corporation, while the trio of OG characters investigate— no, not dinosaurs, no, they investigate locusts. Big, giant locusts. Yes, one of the main conflicts of this movie is we must stop the locusts from eating our crops, or God help us all, we will all perish. So one of the main complaints I heard about this movie, reasonably so, is that for once, the dinosaurs are loose, they're coexisting with humans, and what do they do with that? Jack shit. The concept is thrown out the window. It's like watching a movie about wrestling, but the wrestling is in the background and out of focus, and we instead focus on people in the crowd. That's fun, right? Add locusts to that and we got a movie. So let's focus first on the Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard part of the film, because it is truly horrible. These two are one of the worst duos in film history. It's been 3 movies and they have never been interesting once.
He's so cool.
They have 0 chemistry, 0 personality. Chris Pratt was doing his Chris Pratt thing for the first film. He was being sarcastic and funny.
It's not funny.
But they kind of dropped that with this one, and he's just the alpha male trying to rescue someone, and he's got some action scenes. And as for Bryce, she's doing her best, but I do not care about her. There is one single scene that I thought was pretty successful, where she's crawling away from a dinosaur. Pretty fun stuff. It was probably my favorite scene of this film. Probably the only scene I enjoyed. Every other character is obnoxious. There's this Steve Jobs-like CEO entrepreneur who's evil, of course. Then we've got the little girl who is so irritating. She spends literally the whole movie complaining, bitching, being angry, telling people to fuck off, just disobeying all the rules and getting herself in trouble. I think the villain of this film is a better person. We also have a new character called Kayla. She plays a pretty important part of this film, and you can tell exactly what kind of characters they wanted her to be. This kind of sarcastic, roguish character, a mix between Jeff Goldblum's character and maybe like Han Solo or something. And everything she says just simply falls flat, and it's not the actress's fault, it's Colin Trevorrow's horrible script.
That's another plane, right?
Not exactly.
She didn't really do anything for me, unfortunately. And as for the old characters from the first movie, they don't do much either in this film. They investigate locusts, must I repeat myself. They were probably the best part due to uncounterable nostalgia, but even then you can look past the nostalgia and see how terribly written they are. Just kind of shoehorned in, and they don't really have anything to do with the plot. Otherwise, the movie's kind of boring. It's, 2 hours? 2 hours and a half? And it felt longer than that. Sure, there's some dinosaur stuff, there's some action scenes, but it all feels like somebody screaming at your face. It's not very pleasant. Very few sequences had me engaged. The dinosaurs look pretty bad in some shots. As I've mentioned, the 2 plots are horrible, and it really feels like 2 different movies jammed into one, but they don't mesh well together. I must reiterate that dinosaurs are on the loose. They're free roaming the earth, and we don't really see anything with that. And that's the biggest crime of this film. I also have to mention the music, because it's pretty shitty. Not that it's insulting or anything, but it just has 0 personality whatsoever, which is kind of a trend with Michael Giacchino, however you say his name. I'm not a big fan of his scores, because I feel like they're kind of products. The Batman score was pretty good though. I guess some of the set designs were cool, but a pretty big part of this film takes place in this lab, and it's not an ideal setting for a adventure horror film with dinosaurs. Kind of boring. But all in all, Jurassic World Dominion is simply an obnoxiously loud, empty movie. It does nothing, has nothing to say. It doesn't have this sense of wonder, this sense of adventure, the interesting themes, the interesting setting, the interesting characters, the interesting plot, the interesting dialogue, the interesting concepts that the first movie had. It basically has none of the charm and all of the filler. The first Jurassic World film, as much as I don't really like it at all, at least had some interesting stuff with the park, with the dinosaurs loose. There were some fun chase sequences. There was this genetically enhanced dinosaur that was pretty scary. I like that. But here the plot just unfolds and you're kind of just ready for it to end. But it's only been half an hour. Jurassic World Dominion was a crowd pleaser, I imagine. It had dinosaurs, it had fun action scenes. If that's what you're into, then you'll have a lot of fun. But it didn't have heart, it didn't have a soul. And that's the most important part of Jurassic Park. I'm gonna give this movie 4 dinosaur turds out of 10. If you've seen it, then let me know what you thought. And if you haven't seen it, just don't go. Just don't. I'm glad this is finally over for now. Hopefully I'll be dead by the time they reboot it, but that's probably gonna be in 2 weeks, so probably not. Thanks for watching. You can watch any kind of other review that the YouTube algorithm wants you to watch, and I'll see you next time for whatever else I've got planned. Thanks again, and keep watching horror movies. It's good for your health. Bye bye.